Welcome to Coryell Roofing, Setting the Standard. We've got an exciting episode today. Guests with us in studio to talk about purchasing cooperatives and procurement methods for public entities. Our guest today, Brandon Rakestraw with Coryell Roofing. He's a regional sales manager that covers Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Tennessee, and more future states. So, Brandon, welcome. Thanks for being here today. Appreciate it. And then a very, very special, exciting guest with us today, a guest of Coryell Roofing, is David Mabe, who is the founder of the Interlocal Purchasing System and current president, correct?
I'm vice president of construction, but yeah, that's very close.
Trying to get away from that as much as you can, right?
Right.
So we want to talk today a little bit about purchasing cooperatives and talk about how it's beneficial to public entities. But first, if you wouldn't mind, David, just tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you live in the Mount Pleasant, Texas area. You live on a ranch and raise cattle. Have you always done that? Always been a cattleman?
No. I married into that. My wife's family runs about 500 head of cattle, and we all share and work in that ranch, and that's been enjoyable. I've been doing that probably for the last 15 years. I'm from East Texas, from Sulphur Springs, which is down the road from Mount Pleasant.
Right.
You want to know more about my background with?
No, just from a personal standpoint, you know, and as far as the cattle go, you guys, you know, a lot of people say that it's a lot of hard work. You know, that's just hard work, and I say that's a work full of life, basically.
Right.
You know, I enjoy it. I love being around cattle. I love the ranching scene, and I'm sure you're the same way.
To me, it's an escape from the day-to-day, the real regular job. It's an escape to get out and work the cattle. Today, they're in the hayfield. My son and his buddy are in the hayfield, and when I get back there today after relief, and getting in a tractor and raking and baling hay is
there's nothing like it.
There's nothing like it. I enjoy getting in the buggy, driving through the cattle, checking them out. That's just a release.
Well, I would say you're welcome that we pulled you out of the hayfield, but it sounds like you're the guy in the tractor, so I don't need to apologize.
That's exactly right.
Now, I love it too. I think there's nothing better than, you know, going through a field in a tractor. It's pure, it's true country, and the cattle are the same way. So I love that life for you. Brandon, you're recently married and living the dream in Oklahoma. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background.
Yeah, recently married, going on 2 years now. Loving my life. She's helped me grow, and we're looking forward to our first child. We're going to be trying again here soon, so exciting times ahead. So
good. And you graduated high school in Oklahoma, played baseball in college a little bit, and then jumped right into the roofing industry. Has it been good for you?
It's been very good. What I noticed going through college is it wasn't for me. I was ready to start my career, but when I was searching and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I knew I wanted to be part of a team that I could grow in, and that's something that Coryell Roofing had provided to me.
Awesome. And you've been with Coryell 11 years now, is that correct?
Just over 10.
Just over 10,
yep.
So almost 11. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's been good. It's been a good ride, and you've helped a lot of people, property, and policy stay protected, and that's what we go for. Mm-hmm. So our core values at Coryell Roofing, David, are a commitment to excellence, a commitment to integrity, and a commitment to growth. And what we do every day is protect people, property, and policy. So when Brandon's helping a school, we always have that at the forefront of our mind, is to make sure that we're focused on excellence and integrity. We're also focused on protecting that entity. And that's a big thing for us, because it's students, it's staff, it's lives, it's education. You know, when I think of educators, the main industry that we work in and that you work in, David, when I think of educators, I think of people that need to be focused on educating, not focused on understanding how to navigate a roof or how to navigate a bid or a specification. They need to be focused on educating. And especially when you look at the state of our country, we need to put more emphasis on education. We need to put more emphasis on brilliant minds that are the future of this country. And I feel like at Coryell Roofing, we get to do just our small part of that. by protecting people, property, and policy at schools. We get to protect those students and the staff, and we get to let educators focus on being educators. So we've always felt that TIPS, the Interlocal Purchasing System, is a huge part of that for us. And can you tell us a little bit about why and how you got into TIPS? How did that form? How did you come up with the concept?
It was luck, to be quite frank with you. I had just became the Deputy Executive Director at Region 8 Education Service Center, which is the lead agency for TIPS. I was in that role about 3 months. We were about to go to the Midwinter Conference in Austin, and my boss at the time said, David, there's a person wanting to meet with me. It's about something to do with purchasing, not sure. Will you take that meeting for me? I said, sure. So TIPS was born in January of 2002 in the Four Seasons Hotel downtown Austin, Texas. And so what we did, the gentleman that I met with, Jay Bowman, he, myself, and my secretary at the time bid our first contract spring of 2002, and that's where it started.
And you saw an opportunity in the market, in public sector, to provide a service to public entities to be able. What is the purpose of TIPS for anybody that's listening to this or viewing this? What does TIPS offer to a public entity?
A public agency, whether you're a city, a county, a school, or a university, they all have policy around procuring what it is they're going to buy. And they have 3 options to do that. They can bid it themselves, they can use a state contract, and most states have contracts of that sort, or they can use a purchasing cooperative like TIPS. And what TIPS does is that lead agency puts out a procurement solicitation publicly, and that's advertised, and then that lead agency will award contracts, and that whole process is legal according to Texas law. We bid all of our contracts according to Texas law. So that then allows a public agency to piggyback to that contract and forego the cost associated with doing it on their own. Why not, utilize contracts we give it? So there's different types of contracts that we have. We've got the commodity contract that are really they're price-based, that's their value. And then service-oriented contracts like yours, construction, those are very complex. They're not necessarily price-based. They're more quality-based, in my opinion. I'll give you an example of I think when it first hit me that when we went into business, my focus was rural Northeast Texas. I want to help the rural school that doesn't have a procurement division. Exactly. They need help. They need our help. And so when I remember, it's been several years ago, the Department of Transportation for the state of California joined TIPS. And I thought, we don't get many state agencies joining our cooperative. And that's a large organization up and down the west coast of the United States. And the reason they did is they wanted to utilize the O'Reilly contract. Because O'Reilly basically said, you can put out a solicitation but you're not going to get the TIPS pricing. That's premier, it's for the co-op. What's neat about that, the little school in Northeast Texas joins TIPS and gets that exact pricing. That's the value in a cooperative on the commodity side. On the service side, we'll get into that more here with some of your other thoughts or things you want to talk about. But yeah, it's the piggybacking, the joint effort of all of these agencies looking to a single award and piggyback into that savings.
Is it so? In simple terms, if I'm a public institution throughout the 48 states, is that safe to say?
Yes.
You guys work in all 48 states?
And Puerto Rico.
Okay, so you offer TIPS contracts to members of TIPS. They have to become a member, am I correct?
Correct.
in all 48 states. And
it's free for them to become
doesn't
a
cost
member.
a thing to
Doesn't
become a
cost
TIPS
them-
member. And then
doesn't cost a thing.
what do they get when they become a TIPS member? And I'm talking, just to clarify, I want to make sure everybody understands what a TIPS member is, make sure I understand clearly what a TIPS member is. If you are a tax-driven entity, then you qualify.
Right.
In other words, you're a courthouse, you're a city government, you're a K-12 school, you're a higher education institution. Anything that is driven by tax dollars, they can use your procurement method that
Correct.
satisfies legislative state laws in each state for the public bid process.
Correct.
Pretty impressive. So, is it beneficial to schools? Is it beneficial to public entities?
You know, I go back to let's just talk about cost. I mentioned to you before the podcast began about the NCPP study, and that's the National Cooperative Procurement Partners. It's a national association that advocates on behalf of groups like TIPS and Omnia Partners and Buy Board and Choice Partners and Sourcewell, all the cooperatives that work. They did a study, and they wanted to know, there were like 40 agencies a part of this study. What is the real cost associated with putting out your own bid versus using a cooperative contract? And they did it in two buckets. One bucket was non-complex, so like just buying commodity. So the cost associated with that was just under a couple of grand. But you think about every time you're going to buy anything and you got a procurement requirement, some legal requirement around that, every time you do it on your own, $2,000. Guess what the complex cost? $17,000. And I just spoke this morning on a call before the podcast began with Tammy Rhymes. We had another, she's going to speak at our vendor summit in October, and we were just talking to her about her topic and that sort of thing. And I asked her, you know, about that cost, because I'd read the study 18 months ago, it was when it came out, and she told me that it was a little over $17,000, and she said, David, to be honest with you, that's very conservative, because we didn't factor in all the benefits of those people involved in that procurement process. So all that to say, there are real costs if someone wants to put out their own bid versus a contract that we have in place with Coryell Roofing that they can negotiate under the terms and conditions of our contract. That's a savings.
But let's be real. Most school boards, most decision makers at public entities, and I say most cautiously, I don't have the statistics, but through experience, I've seen that there's a lot of them, the decision makers at these institutions, that feel like they have to go the old school traditional public bid process, use an architect, we have to publish it, we have to gather all competitive bids, and we have to award to the lowest, most responsible bidder. Right? I mean, that's the typical mindset. Do you feel like decision makers and schools, superintendents are starting to realize more and more that there truly is just a better way to do it? And that's through the process that you've already awarded the bids. You hold price compliance procedures to make sure that the school or the entity is actually getting the best price, and you're saving entities money. Do you think the awareness is increasing?
I think it is. What I have learned in the 23 years of working with TIPS and working with vendors like yourself and our agencies, I think the stars align when they see our procurement process, know those are compliant and legal per their statutory requirements, and they find a quality vendor they want to work with. There are many agencies that are sick to death of awarding to the low guy, and then 18 months, you can't find him, right?
Right.
They want to work with quality vendors. So when here's another thing that's really grown our business. Let's just say that a company or an agency goes out to bid and awards Coryell. You win the deal. And now it's time for project number 2, and they discover that you've got a contract with TIPS. And they experienced how great your crew did from all the service, all the support, that quality workmanship. Why go to bid? Why go through, let's just negotiate under the terms of whether it's our contractor, Omni, or whomever, all of those cooperatives have that's what we bring to the agency. And when you say there's a mindset around doing it that traditional way, it's when they get burnt by that traditional way that they say, enough. We want to work with Coryell Roofing. Let's do it under the terms of that TIPS agreement.
It's so valuable when people actually understand what it can do and how much time it can save them and how much money. I mean, literally a study that proves purchasing cooperatives and going through that type of procurement method can save you money over your traditional bid process. You think you're saving money because you're making contractors or vendors compete against each other to get down to the lowest price, but that's what TIPS has done. They've already established what that price is, so why wouldn't you tap into that resource? Brandon, what do you see in the market working with clients of Coryell Roofing and schools and public entities all over the states that you're responsible for, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee? What do you see the acceptance or the buy-in from decision makers when you talk to them about a purchasing cooperative as a procurement method?
Yeah, I think each meeting there's a learning curve that we go through, and the educational piece that we have to walk them through the steps and building that comfortability. That's one of the biggest challenges, and working in so many different states, you have to learn how to navigate each and every single one of them. Arkansas is a little bit different than Oklahoma. Oklahoma is very different from Tennessee. And I know we're going to get into Tennessee a little bit, but it's a resounding yes. Like you had mentioned, once they've experienced it, they see how easy it is. They never want to veer from that again. It's just getting them to that point of the understanding of how easy and fluent it can be. But you explain that to a superintendent, then you have to go explain it to 6, 7, 8 board members after that. So it's a slow moving process, but we get good feedback once we get to that finish line.
And have you seen, you've been involved in hundreds possibly of TIPS contracts with schools. Do you see that they value and understand the benefit of being able to select their contractor, not necessarily having to put it out for a public bid, but like David referenced, if we are awarded a competitive bid and we put a roof on a school system as Coryell Roofing, and then they have another project in the next budget, they should be able to choose who they want, and there should be some consistency at schools and public entities. Do you see that schools have seen that and that they benefit? So once they do it, they realize, hey, this is good.
Yeah, what I see is public entities as a whole, they want partners in the industry, whether it's roofing, turf, whatever the case may be. They want partners. They've just struggled to be able to partner with somebody on specific things, but TIPS alleviates that through their purchasing program. So they want the partners. It's just educating them that they can have it, and this is how it works.
Understood. What's interesting about that is one of the main reasons that Coryell Roofing entered the education market so aggressively and wanted to help public entities protect people, property, and policy in the education space is because we noticed that the way that the state laws are structured, it discourages contractors from being a resource to a school before there's a bid to award. Does that make sense? So why would I invest, if I'm a contractor, if I'm a concrete, roofing, doesn't matter what kind of contractor you are, and a facilities person at a school contacts your company and says, we need some help, we need you to guide us on what type of roof system to use, can you help us look and see if our roofs are in good condition, or we need to do some other type of construction on the property. There's really no incentive for a contractor to be a resource to that entity or school if it's going to go to public bid, right? Because you're just putting your work into something that literally everybody's going to have a shot at, and typically somebody's going to come undercut you. And is it fair to say, Brandon, that the lowest bid typically represents the person that made the biggest mistake?
Yeah, and we've learned it several times where we've worked with public entities for a few years, and then there's either a change in leadership or there's a change in legislation that kind of puts everything on pause for a little bit, and all of a sudden it goes out to bid. We get on the roof 6 months later and we have to tell them the bad news of saying, hey, this didn't make it through the last storm. Here's why. Because it wasn't built to the Coryell standard, severe hail rated, things like that. So we've seen that bid process play out, and schools and public entities suffer from it multiple times.
And schools feel like they're saving money by going the public bid route to get to that lowest bidder, but actually it's costing them money. If you really break it down, it's costing the school money. It might not be right now, but it could be when a storm hits, it could be because of a deductible, it could be because of water intrusion into a building. There's so many things, and if you don't, as you said, they want partners, right?
Correct.
But they can't find a partner if they're going on the public bid process. People, there's a lot of contractors out there, and this is fair to say, I think, Brandon, back me up on it, but there's a lot of contractors that's all they do is watch for when a school will publish a bid. There's no relationship, there's no investment, there's no time invested in the school. It's just responding to a bid and kind of hope you're the low number. And if you are, hey, I just won a project for $250,000. And then, like you said, that same contractor that could install that project could be gone in 18 months. The school has no way of knowing that. Now, there's some mechanisms to protect them, but in your mind, David, these things, these scary, scary things that, like I said, new superintendents in the state of Texas, after talking to Executive Director Kevin Brown at TASA, there's 80 new superintendents, first-time superintendents in the state of Texas. So as they're thinking about projects and how they can procure projects, they want those partnerships too. How do they form those partnerships? A procurement process, how do you convey to them their options?
So the agency's options, we're going to work closely with our agencies to help them understand. I'll give you another example. I got a call from a superintendent in Missouri Monday, and he needs help. He's got a scope of work. He's got one group that's looked at it. He wasn't very happy with, and he wanted some options for that particular deal. So we come in and try to visit with our agency, see what exactly their need is, and then align them with a vendor that can help in that situation. Because, I can't put on his particular project, I can't bring someone from South Texas. They're not going to go, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's some work that we do. We have reps that work for us around the country that work closely with our agency members to help them with, navigating all this sort of thing. You heard me say earlier about, to me, the stars align when there's a quality vendor and a legal procurement method that works really well. I'll tell you another thing that's important to people when they really grasp what's going on. Think about return on investment on different kinds of, go in your area in roofing. If you go low bid and you may have a single membrane manufacturer X, A over here, B over here, C over here. That's just not a smart return on investment. Why not utilize the co-op, utilize a quality vendor, and utilize their offering to you and make that offering standard across their district? I'm sure you run into that.
We run into it all the time, and I question a lot of times when school districts insist on a public bid process, and their architect might have specified something, but there's alternates allowed, and you could have a campus of 20 buildings with literally 5-6 different roofing manufacturers that made the products. There's no consistency, no consistency in warranty. If I was responsible for all of those roofs or all those buildings, I would want to have one company to go to that holds the warranties. I wouldn't want to have it so spread out, and that's the challenge with public bid process, and that's the solve from TIPS is you get to pick your contractor, you get to pick your system. You can be assured that the pricing is in compliance with state laws because it's been vetted and approved. So Really, my question for you was when somebody becomes a TIPS member, they gain access to all of the vendors that TIPS has pre-qualified under their contracts. Is that
Right.
correct?
Correct. If they join to work with you, well, guess what? Now they have access to about 150 categories. Anything that they will buy, we have a contract available to them.
They can buy books, they can buy pencils, they can buy laptops, desks.
Office supply, yes. You name it, we've got
Buses.
a contract. Buses, cars,
Okay.
automobiles, yeah. It's,
So there's a huge benefit to being involved, and there's been some controversial aspects to purchasing cooperatives when it comes to construction. You know, I don't think there's a lot of argument, maybe I don't see it, but there's not a lot of argument when it comes to buying laptops through a purchasing cooperative.
correct.
But when it comes to construction, we've seen some legislation that's pretty questionable in some of the states that they try to bucket a little bit. Why is that? Why are legislators resistant in some states to a purchasing cooperative?
The honest answer,
Yes.
I think the design professional lobby and some of these construction association lobbies are very strong. They just don't understand cooperative contracting, and they fight tooth and nail when change is potentially going to be made to the traditional bid process. What just recently happened in Tennessee is incredible. I don't know if you're ready to get into that, but
Oh, we're ready.
I can tell
We're
you
ready.
that last summer, our lawyer was on a call live in front of an administrator group, and a state representative was on this call, in this training, and cooperative contracting came up, in particular construction, and that state representative clearly told the group, you cannot use a co-op for construction. So our group last summer shut it down. We wanted to get the word out to anybody in Tennessee that it's off limits. It was a little gray, their law was a little gray, and when that clarification from the state came down, it shut our business down. So this new, 98,
The legislation? Yep.
the new, I don't know if they call it Bill 98 or whatever, but that is awesome. It's already been signed by the governor. It's an awesome opportunity and opens the door for not only commodity purchasing, but also construction services.
Yeah, and this is fresh in Tennessee. So,
brand
I mean,
new.
Texas is very, very familiar with purchasing cooperatives. Most of the schools know what it is. Not all of them adopt it, but most of them know what it is. You know, Oklahoma, there's been some challenges there. Big challenges in Oklahoma, but I think we're good. I think we've got those figured out. And then, you know, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, they've all been friendly to purchasing cooperatives. So the state agencies, as you say, which are your schools and municipalities, they have the ability to purchase through that. But Tennessee was the one that was hanging out there that they just refused to let it be used for construction. And hot off the press, within about the past 60 days, we've got a passed bill legislation that now these state agencies, public entities, can use a purchasing cooperative for construction. Brandon, is that big?
It's big. It's big for the public entities of the state of Tennessee. I'm sure TIPS has a lot of members out there, but they were pushing for this because they wanted it. There's a lot of rural small towns in Tennessee that this is going to benefit the public entities in those towns because they don't have the resources that some of the major metroplexes do. So it's a big win for the state of Tennessee, and we've got a lot of people talking about it. We just left a few trade shows, and it's a very hot topic, and people are excited out there.
They are excited. We're excited. And I think mainly because they have a path to be able to tap into a resource. I want to go back to what I was saying about when we aggressively entered the education space at Coryell Roofing. One of the things that I noticed in the education space, nobody was incentivized to help a school. Therefore, the schools were, when you talk about your rural schools, now some of the big city schools, they're the 5A, 6A, they're more sophisticated. They have facilities staff, they have directors of facilities, so they're a little bit ahead of it, and that's basically enrollment based or education based attendance. So yeah, those schools, they can benefit from a purchasing cooperative. They could benefit from a contractor that's willing to invest in them. But the outlying schools can't. David, I've heard you and Charlie Martin with TIPS say many times that schools and in the outlying areas, they can't even get a contractor. A quality contractor, because they're in a small rural community. TIPS facilitates that. TIPS literally brings your entire vendor portfolio to a member in rural Oklahoma or rural Texas or rural Tennessee, giving them options of really high quality contractors that have been vetted and approved. Is it a challenging process to become a TIPS vendor? Does just anybody get in?
It's a public process that anybody can apply for. When a solicitation is out, can apply, and there is a rubric that we use, and it's not a difficult, it's pretty routine situation. Our group will coach you. If you were brand new to us and needed some help, we'll coach you through that process. Now ultimately it's going to be that vetting process about your company, your bonding ability, your references that you have. But our group is, what I'm proud of, we're very friendly to the small mom and pop company up to the large company. You look at some of our competitors and look at their categories, and they'll have 2 or 3 roofers under contract. You look at our group and there's 200.
Okay.
And why is that important? Some of the vendors that are under contract with us, Chris, they have 2 customers in South Texas, and they're not going anywhere else. That's their customers. You go to a mechanical in Bogota, Texas, his customer is Avery, Clarksville, and Rivercrest. That's it. But he can work with those 3 school districts under the terms, conditions, and of his TIPS contract, and those 3 superintendents and facility folks know that when they work with Alfred Air out of Bogota, Texas, that's legal. So it go back to the guy that called me from southeastern Missouri, that little small superintendent. He's got one guy, and what he was wanting, Chris, was 2 more bids because there were some federal dollars involved. The law, if he's just doing a regular purchase with his state money or local money, he could work with that one. But since federal money was involved on that particular grant, he needed multiple bids, and he wanted those multiple bids coming from our cooperative. So yeah, the portfolio of offerings that we have in our cooperative, and the wide range of the big monster multi-billion-dollar company, worldwide company, to the little small guy in Bogota and everything in between. That's fun to me, and that gives options to our folks, to our members.
It creates an equal opportunity for all of these agencies to share in the same quality. And like I was saying about our process, we started discovering that roofs were neglected and not being paid attention to, especially in rural America, because contractors aren't willing to invest if it's going to go out to public bid. But if the agency has a choice, if they can say, I can purchase through a purchasing cooperative, and I can select a contractor, and I can make a commitment to that contract, now a contractor is willing to invest in them. And that's literally been our practice. And you know, as we go throughout our coverage area, setting the standard, that's what we're all about. We're trying to help schools and public entities understand that you have to do it a better way. We have to build better roof systems. We have to prevent loss. We have to raise awareness, and we're doing it every single day, David, and we're trying to help the schools understand there is a better system that will protect you from the elements. We're in a dangerous situation right now with the balance between our climate and our facilities and the weather. We're in a very dangerous, very volatile situation. And so if we don't balance it by building better roof systems, the insurance is not even touchable. Deductibles have gone out of range. Premiums are ridiculously high right now, and you can't blame the insurance companies for that. It's because the building products that we're using are not performing to standard with the elements that we see. The advantage of a purchasing cooperative is a school gets to choose
Correct.
an upgraded system that prevents loss, that sets the standard for them. And then they can carry that forward for many, many, many years. So Brandon, as you go throughout the states and you assist schools and you try to guide them on a long-range plan, you're showing them here is through a roof performance assessment that doesn't cost the school district anything, correct?
Correct.
Coryell Roofing offers, we will come out, we will look at your facility, we will create a plan with you, we will guide you through this process, and then you know exactly what you have, and we can look 20 years ahead together. That gives you a peace of mind to be able to offer that when you know that they have the ability to use you through a purchasing cooperative, correct?
Correct. We invest in school districts before they invest in us, and we do that through our roof performance assessments at no cost or obligation. But we want to be partners to the school district as well, and knowing that they have a path and they also want to partner with us is very important on the Coryell side of things. So we will continually invest year over year over year, because sometimes we'll look at school roofs and the first one, based on the grading, will be 5 years out. Well, we're still going back next year, the following year, to see if it's going to still last another 4. So we're there year in and year out looking at all of their facilities, knowing that when that time hits, we've built a partnership and they're going to be able to use a purchasing cooperative.
Partnership is the key word, because a school that just wants to call you to be number 3 out of 5 bids, that's not a partnership.
No.
You're not able to offer resources and value to that district to guide them through the process. You're just responding to a request. And it's almost a good luck, hope you get what you want type of situation. That's not fair to taxpayers. It's not fair to students and staff. It's not fair to the states that we work in. So it's an exciting thing that you do. I think you created something 23 years ago that bridges the gap between quality and not.
When did, I ask you a question, when did we, remember the first meeting?
I remember.
When was that?
It was it might have been 2016, 2015, somewhere in there.
Yeah. So just so the group knows, Charlie Martin and myself drove to Oklahoma City to meet with Coryell Roofing and their staff, because somebody on one of your sales guys had got your company involved in tips because he's trying to sell into the Wichita Falls area, I think. And over in Texas, tips came up. And so y'all joined and we came over to do the little training with you. And I just remember the deer in the headlight look from you, like, what is this guy talking about? What's the value of this? And to Chris, to sit here today and know that Coryell Roofing, this 23-year-old company, cooperative, Coryell Roofing is the #1 roofing contractor for our current year. You're in our top 10 for our current year. That's amazing to me, and it speaks to your passion about the service that you and Brandon and your team provides to folks, leveraging what we provide to you and to your customer, a legal procurement methodology for you to engage new partners around the country, and that's really exciting to me. I remember one of your main sales guys in Texas telling me one time that he had one of his customers in the Metroplex, a university in the Metroplex, wished that he could do every bit of their roofing work through you and through tips, but he's got local policy that makes him spread that around, and we understand that. But man,
it's a compliment.
What a compliment that was, and I know you know who I'm talking about. That says that was several years ago that comment was made, and that told me, Coryell's figured this thing out. Their company, what they do for the folks is #1 quality. I'm proud as I can be to sit here in front of you and Brandon today and participate in this. And we not only offer our services to you, to thousands of other companies, and we just enjoy our partnerships. That's the key word. This is a true partnership.
It is.
And we help you partner with your customer.
Well, we appreciate you. It's truly an honor to be considered even top 10 #1 roofer with tips. We focus heavily on making sure that our customers have the options. Our guys like Brandon educate every single day to decision makers throughout all of the states on here's how you can do things a little bit better. Here are the tools. We brought resources to you. We did another episode with Government Capital, Stuart Shirey and Ed King. We did another episode with them and talked about how financing helps schools. We at Coryell Roofing, we have worked hard to bring together the total solution, the one-stop shop. You get what you want, you get what you need, you're preventing loss, you're protecting your district, you're making really smart decisions with it. And the crazy thing about that is it's a less expensive option at the end of the day. And I think about, Brandon, some of the schools that we've talked to that say, well, our bylaws require 3 bids. You've heard that before, correct? You can still get those 3 bids through tips. They're just vetted vendors that their price is held accountable. I want to talk to you about one final thing. We got to wrap this up. We're running out of time, but how does a member know with certainty that they're getting a fair price in construction? A compliance check?
There are 2 people that work in the TIPS construction area. All they do all day today is checking compliance for our members. As I was waiting for this podcast and over in the conference room looking through some email, every day members are sending proposals to us for review because they want to know, is this contract compliant per the terms and conditions and pricing of the contracts that's in place. And I would say, Chris, the thing that I'm most proud of is our compliance. That's what makes us who we are. We want for our membership to understand that we take a top priority in that, and compliance is very, very important to us.
I agree, and compliance is very important to us as well. That brings up one final topic, actually.
Okay, sorry.
It's the responsibility of the agency or the contractor, either one, to report to TIPS.
Correct.
When the contract has been used. So I'll give you an example. Let's take Woodward Public Schools. We did an episode with them here recently, and we did a TIPS contract with them. So if Woodward Public Schools chooses to use Coryell Roofing through the TIPS contract that was awarded to us, piggybacking, as we've talked about, and they get to choose their contractor, and they're doing a massive amount of roofs on their campus, how does TIPS know that that project's actually going on? How does that information get to you?
We put out information documents to our membership that says, here is the step 1, 2, 3, 4 if you want to do this per a compliant purchase order or a compliant contract with one of our, and it starts with, you go walk a job, you create a proposal, you hand it to them. They then send that to our staff to say, hey, got this proposal from Coryell Roofing, is it compliant? If it's compliant, then we send back to the member, this thing's compliant. Now it's time for you to, if you want to move forward, however you're going to do that, whether it's an AIA construction contract, a contract between Coryell and you that you're going to negotiate, a purchase order, whatever it is, it's ready to be executed. You'll send that back to us, then we post it in the system, you guys go to work.
And that's how the pricing can be verified to make sure that it is in total compliance. Now the school has in their file for an auditor, they have evidence showing this was contracted through TIPS, the procurement method. It is verified in pricing. They met all the criteria. They were awarded a contract. We used this contractor for this. It did not require public bid because of this. And the pricing was verified through an RS means verification or Xactimate verification. One of them, I think you just added another one as well, didn't you?
There's a bid now that uses the B&I cost book. Yep.
So that's a peace of mind for the school districts. They get to know we're getting a fair price. We're getting the price we should get, and in fact, it saves them money. So, pretty exciting thing you've created. It's amazing. And I know TIPS isn't the only one, but you're definitely the industry leader in education throughout the South. We know that.
We're proud of our brand. Driving over today, this is going to seem corny to you. We're talking about cows, before we got started today. I grabbed a mug to get some coffee, and I didn't even really pay attention to it until I was driving over. And my mug was the 4 6s. You know what that is,
yes,
right?
I do.
And that brand
said,
created in established in 1870. So 155 years of that. If you want a quarter horse, that's the place to buy a horse, right? That brand and that breeding and that lineage is just, and I thought about us, you know, same thing. I'm very proud of that logo, that brand, that compliance, and our tagline for us is purchasing made personal. We're all dedicated to that. This little logo here, that's your brand, and I know you're very proud of that.
We are. You want to know how 4.6s got their brand? I just had lunch with Red Stegall about a month ago, and he explained to me that 4.6s got that brand. I thought the myth was that it was in a card hand, a poker game, and they drew 4.6s and won the ranch in that. That's a myth. It's a legend. It's not true. But I believed it for a long time. But the truth is, the first cattle that they bought literally were branded 6666, and that's how the brand became. So Red confirmed that for me. Pretty cool. But hey, look at it today. It's an amazing powerhouse brand, just like TIPS, the Interlocal Purchasing System. Brandon, and to our friends in Tennessee, welcome to TIPS. Welcome to Purchasing Cooperatives Through Construction. We're excited about the state of Tennessee.
We're looking forward to working with you over there.
Yeah. We're going to do a lot of business in Tennessee and help a lot of schools. That's the main thing. We get to help people. We get to protect people, property, and policy because of what you've done. So thank you for that. That's all we've got for today. Thank you, Brandon, for joining us, Brandon Rakestraw, and thank you, David Mabe. What a pleasure. Can we do this again sometime?
Absolutely.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for joining the show. We appreciate it.